Good afternoon. Today I'm very happy to welcome a great actress and also a model, director, producer, writer, and what else? An attorney as well. uh, Caroline G. Stussy. This is correct? How I pronounce it?
Yeah, you pronounce it correct.
Very good. How are you, Caroline? Thank you very much for accepting the live. It's a great pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you very much. Right now, I want to ask you like a double question. How did you start in the entertainment? And how did you study law and become a professional entertainment attorney?
So maybe I start with the second one because
Yes,
it's kind of the normal path. You go to law school and then you take the bar exam, and then you have to decide on which kind of law you want to practice. And
yes,
since I have always worked as an actress since I'm like a little kid, with some interruptions because I had to go and to college, to law
yes,
school. um, I decided that it probably would benefit me the most to go into entertainment law because I know how people work in front of the camera. I know, their concerns. I understand the time pressure, that everything needs to go real fast. And so I felt like I could help people the most as an entertainment attorney. And then you have to
mhm,
find a job in that field that you want to work in, which as an entertainment attorney is a little bit hard because
mhm.
um, there's not as many jobs as there are people who want to work in the entertainment law field.
Yes,
And yes. And then the first question was like, how do I serve as an actress? Was that the question?
yes, yes. Because you have a double parallel together.
Yeah, yeah, like a double life. so
Yes, yes.
well, there's two kind of parts to that. One is, of course, I work as an actress. So my acting name is really CJ Stussy. I work as an
Hmm.
actress, auditioning. That's really kind of my job, learning lines, auditioning. There's not nothing fancy about that. Going to, training classes, all of that, just doing the normal work. And that's when I'm hired by productions to act. But then
Yes,
parallel to it, I create also my own projects in which I usually also, act. And that is, cool because I can work on topics and themes that I'm really passionate about. So I do work as an actress for projects that I create myself, and then when I'm hired by, existing projects.
yes, this is great. When I visited New York during Tribeca Festival and later on California and
Mhm.
Miami, I stumbled upon a lot of entertainment lawyers. They give me their cards and stuff like that. They are there, during film festivals, of course, to socialize, of course. But
Mhm.
tell me, what are the basic, I mean, cases you handle in the United States?
You mean as an entertainment attorney?
Yes, yes.
So I do also only transactional law, meaning I don't go to court. I don't do litigation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so my normal work is just doing contracts, usually for producers or directors and writers. I don't really represent actors,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm more on the producer side. And then it's really
Yes,
just contracts, any contract that might come up. It's
yes. Revising contracts between production, distribution, and actors, stuff like that.
yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Yes.
this is great.
But when you have a film, there's a lot of people don't really know that there's a lot of people that work on a project. First you have, the writers, and then you have, of course, the directors, producers, but there's so many people. Otherwise, people build the set, paint them, blah, blah, blah. Like you have you have several hundred people that are ultimately involved in making a project, and you need a contract for every one of those. Now, I don't do every
Yeah.
single of those contracts, but a lot of those, yes.
Yes, this is great. And Caroline, I want to ask you during the course of your artwork, did you manage to work outside of the United States as well? Because I've seen some of the your filmography include, something like Segretos and uh, Noor College. You played a German secretary. Did you
Mhm.
work outside, or these were American productions?
So right now it's mainly for American productions, but of course, when I get cast overseas, of course I'll take it too. I started really in Germany. That's when we
Really?
lived, well, when I was really young, and
Uh-huh.
then we went to Switzerland. I worked there during, my childhood, and then I moved to the US. So I'm
Yes.
US based, but here, for example, I just had an audition for a Spanish project, and
Uh-huh.
when I came to the US, funny enough, I started to work in Spanish television first. So it's like Latin America, like Telemundo. It's one of the biggest stations.
Of course.
And those were kind of my first engagements, which is really funny because my Spanish, is not really that good. I mean, I can communicate and I can understand what somebody says, but I've never learned Spanish. I just picked it up on the streets, and we spent a lot of time in actual Spain. So my Spanish has that lisp, like corazón. Like here, people always laugh. So it was funny that I would get parts first in the like Telemundo, like the Spanish speaking channels, and it
Yeah.
was really funny because it's a very different kind of acting. It's
Of
very
course.
dramatic and like a little over the
Uh,
top, and but I think
yeah.
it's really fun. um
Yeah.
yeah.
Strong reactions, extreme close-ups, you know?
Yes. So for example, there was one show where it's about, it's a dating show, 12 corazones, so 12 hearts, right?
Yes.
And there's an astrologist, and they couple people based on their signs. And I think I've played like six different signs on that show because I've been on that
Really?
show so many times. It's like, oh, today I'm an Aquarius, oh, now I'm it was really funny.
Yeah. This is very nice. Yes, in sometimes also in American soap operas,
Hmm.
and some of the 70s, 80s shows, sometime an actor can play a different role,
Yeah.
although it's the same show. And sometimes because his appearance was very successful.
Hmm.
I tell you an example, like if you, of course you remember Colombo,
Yes,
you
yes, I
know.
do.
Of course, Colombo, the series, but the premise is Colombo is investigating a murder,
Hmm.
and he's pursuing the suspect, all the episode for 1 hour and a half, and to find plot, holes in his story, and
Hmm.
sometimes some actors uh, played two times, two different roles, two different stories in two consecutive seasons like that. If you run through the show, you can see because of the episode was very well written and it was very well acted. They bring them again, and of course,
Hmm.
about soap operas in the United States. The like General Hospitals
Hmm.
and the Bold and Beautiful. Sometimes a character die and then he comes back, after 2 or 3 seasons. Like he had a car accident, then he lost his memory. That's why he was off the show, and then he or she can come back again.
Yeah.
So
Or
this
somebody
is some.
remembers them or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yes, but I see as well in your filmography as a writer, director, producer, you realize the film called Nameless,
Yes.
and the film toured the festivals. it got a lot of attentions, award, not only in the United States. Tell me a little bit, how did you conceive its story?
So, I always wanted to make a film about psychological manipulation. For me, it's like a phenomenon. It's a
Yes.
thing that has always fascinated me because I feel psychological. Whenever something bad happens, to some degree,
Yeah.
psychological manipulation is involved. And
Uh,
I think if people were to know a little bit more about it, maybe they could prevent certain things more from happening. And so I decided to make a film about it. And psychological manipulation is something, there's a lot of different strategies, and usually it's very typical that a manipulator just changes strategy. So it's a continuing process of changing strategy. If one doesn't work, then the manipulator switches to a different strategy. That doesn't work, then a third. And so I decided to make it a continuous shot where the camera circles the actress like a predator. And I always say the movie is unwatchable because, it puts you in the shoes of the victim, and it's not like a film where you eat popcorn and you're having a great time. It feels really uncomfortable, and I kind of did that on purpose. And I
uh-huh.
made it an educational tool, really, for people to learn about it. And the film then fell, that was just by accident, into the Me Too movement. Like in the film, the
Yes.
example by which psychological manipulation is demonstrated is an actress that is auditioning and gets manipulated by the casting director, who wants her to strip her clothes off.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that was the example by which, the different strategies were shown. And that just, it happened that the Me Too movement happened when my film was in all the festivals. And so suddenly it got this huge attention because it
Yes.
connected to the Me Too movement, which, to a certain extent is totally true, but it's much more than that because, it's about psychological manipulation. And yes, you have that in sexual abuses, but you have that in all kinds of other abuses as well.
Of course. Of course.
So, and now the film is licensed to schools all over the world, to
Uh-huh.
be integrated into classes, and I'm really like grateful and happy about that because I feel like I can contribute something with my profession.
Yes. Yes. You know, uh, I want to ask you, were you exposed to something similar like that in your professional life, which
Yeah,
is
so
inspired you?
pretty much everything in that movie is based on real experiences. I just
Mhm.
put them all into one experience in the film and one example, but
Yes.
they all, to some degree, kind of happened. And like how should I say this? There's different stages to a development and to an awareness, right? And now the Me Too movement happened, people are more aware. But, if we think back of those big Hollywood actresses and even actors, back in the day, what they must have endured, that's kind of, it's a whole other level. Does that make sense that they had
Yes.
to deal with? And that just always creates great empathy for me for those big old stars and how they sometimes handled such with great dignity, I feel.
Yes. About manipulation, or it doesn't relate it to age or gender. It is
Mhm.
something that can happen to young people or adult people, and to men and women. And it's very nice that you accumulated, maybe different stories and that you have been exposed to or here in one film to try to regroup everything. And I think this is the best way of art, it gets inspired from real life stories and tries to dramatize it,
Yeah.
for people, for other people. But
I
yes, go ahead, please.
yeah, I do believe, as you say, like art can really, you said it in different words, but I believe art can change the world, can really contribute a lot. I know it has in my life, a lot of times when I was just very down and I was very hopeless, then, a song or a painting or a movie just gave me new hope and inspiration, as you say. And because of that, I then marched on, and I like that if artists try to give back through their art. I think that's something really beautiful.
Yes, correct. But and regarding manipulation and related to lawyer, I don't know if you have seen a classic film. I consider a classic film called House of Games. It was
Mhm.
written and directed by David Mamet. You know,
All right.
and I don't know if you have seen it with Joe Mantegna. Try to see it. I don't want to
Yeah,
spoil
I
the
will
story
see it.
with you.
Thank you.
Yes, another one is as well by David Mamet. It's called The Spanish Prisoner, and
That sounds.
it stars Steve Martin.
Oh,
You
I love
know,
Martin. Yeah.
and in a dramatic role. It's not a comedy.
Hmm, hmm.
Uh, so this is something I recommend for you to see some very interesting elements.
Okay,
Right
thank
now,
you so much for that. Okay.
I want to ask you right now, as an artist, what are you preparing next projects? Did you film something we're looking forward to see in the future, or you are preparing something?
I'm actually working on two projects. So one is called Secretaries of Inspiration. It's two feature films that deal with trauma. And so the
Hmm.
first film is pretty much, we shot it. We just have to re-edit it and redo the sound. And the second film is going to be interviews with psychiatrists, pretty much about what the actors go through in the first movie, about the trauma. They discuss it, they elaborate it. And it's kind of a mix between a documentary and a drama and an educational film. It's kind of like, and then another project that I'm working on is called Allured. It's a trilogy, so three feature films, and I wrote the three screenplays. It's about Greek gods who make a bet over whether love or technology is the prevailing force in the universe. And the screenplays have won multiple awards, I think 20. I stopped counting. I'm sorry, that sounds obnoxious, but I kind of did. And we have been nominated, I think, equally as many times for Best Screenplay. And so we're trying to raise the financing for that. And then within that, we have also created a social cause called Tech Mood, which kind of tries to create awareness about how to balance technology in order to have a healthy life. Yeah, that it doesn't overpower your life. So
Yes,
that's what I'm working on, besides, being an attorney. Yeah. And
yes, this is great. This is great. Caroline, I want to thank you very much for this great interview. I look forward for the next projects,
mhm.
and I hope next time you invite us to the premiere of your new film.
You're
We can
invited, yes. I'll
travel
invite you.
easily. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best of luck in your work as an artist and also as an entertainment lawyer. Thank you very
Thank you so
much.
much. Same to you. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.